heartbreaker there for Sasha. And queen takes c7, Robert. He got in his own head there. He overthought it. And Nihal is up 2 points.
Nihal is a monster, right? We've
He
said this
is
from
a
the very
beast.
beginning that we knew that he'd be the favorite in the bullet portion, but we also know he can contend with any player in this field in blitz. He is so strong. And he's going to a London system now where he has double F pawns and double C pawns, but let's do a quick count. He's up a pawn. So Sasha needs to prove that he has enough compensation for the pawn, or he needs to win the pawn back, which I'm not seeing how he's going to do that.
Yeah, and just to echo what you said, one of Nihal's additional great strengths in blitz is his ability to pose problems in his opponent's time pressure. Sasha is among the most experienced, among the most famously adept players at surviving the most acute, the most draconian time pressure. But Nihal just finds ways to keep posing problems. Even when he's the one getting hunted, he figures out ways to tempt his opponent, to face his opponent with tough decisions. And you could be, God himself, and you're going to struggle in such a position.
And look at this. It's a 2-point lead for Nihal Sarin. He being Sasha in this case, with a5, trying to play a4 and move that knight from b3 and guard for the c5 pawn. And
yeah, maybe queen a5.
White can play a4 himself. The downside of playing the move a4 from White's perspective is that you loosen your control of the b3 knight. So if White plays a4, Black at some point in time move in if White plays a4 to stop Black from doing that, then Black at some point can play b6 and just use the b file to his advantage. So he gets an a4, he allows it, and now queen a5, he wins c5 back. Diana, this looks good for Black.
This looks great for Black, and then perhaps later the bishop could drop back to g7. I mean, if you're, I don't think Nihal should be too concerned here. Maybe he just castles and plays rook e1. But if you're feeling particularly bold, I was contemplating the move h4, but that does weaken the g4 square. So I would say just castle, accept that Black is equalized, and get into the middle game.
I love Black's position. I'm partial to the bishop pair, and the bishop on h6 looks awkward, but it went there to gain a tempo so Black could develop, attack the f4 pawn. Later, it will go back to g7 and try to use that long diagonal to its advantage. So a3 for Black at some point needs to be reckoned with after queen takes c5 coming. So
yeah,
I don't really see how Nihal should play this.
And if White plays a3, then you weaken all of these light squares on the queen side, and Black's knight later could swing to c4. I think he decides that that's the lesser evil. I agree with that approach. Now, bishop g4. Potentially, we're going to see an opposite colored bishop type of position.
Right. If h3, bishop takes f3 would have been played. So he goes
queen
queen
d3 is
d3.
nice on pinning. This does seem to be headed toward a relatively dry position. I would definitely take Black here, though. I think it's equal objectively, but you go e6, then maybe rook d8, maybe prepare d4.
And it's because Black is the one with access to pawn breaks, right? White is nowhere near pawn breaks. Black's more active. Look at this pawn structure. All those white pawns and dark squares limit the scope of the bishop on g7. But if the move d4 happens and the board really opens up, that bishop on g7 can shine.
Which is why I think Nihal has cooked up c4 in response to d4. But Grischuk now d4 is more of a serious threat, because after c4 knight a5, you might end up losing that pawn.
Right. And you mentioned before, even without d4 included, that after the move a3 was played by White, b3, c4, the light squares on the queen side are a problem. And that's why Grischuk is happy to have the knight still on the board, because if the knights disappeared right now, well, it's how you can take advantage of c4 and b3. You don't really have pieces to go there. So the fact that knights are on the board, knight a5 can happen, and then the knight can jump into the game.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I would argue that maybe White can try something like bishop h3 and using the knight for his advantage. Knight g5. I agree this is very superficial, but I was thinking about certain sacrifices, knight f7, bishop e6 ideas. Instead, Nihal goes for a far more tame and I'm sure objectively better continuation, rook ac1. Of course, this stops d4 because of c takes.
I like that you're always thinking about crazy sacrifices. Bishop
Can't
h3,
help it.
Bishop h3, knight g5 did not cross my mind for even a second, but then you said, I was like, well, actually, that could be really dangerous, especially in blitz.
Well, because White's got this clamp on some of these squares. That pawn in f4 is kind of a beast here. Without that pawn, Black would just go e5, e4, run White out of the gym.
Right. So he goes h5, trying to get some pressure on the king's head. I think you were about to say there could be some
Back
rookie
on
six
E6,
sacrifices.
knight G5 again. Don't, I know it's sounds ridiculous now, but all white needs is 2 or 3 moves before serious threats have been created. HG and rook e6. I think that works.
No way. I think it does.
Oh my goodness. I willed this into being, and I think Grischuk has completely missed that. And Nihal, look at the confidence. He will not pass up this opportunity.
That was an eyebrow raised by Grischuk being like, that one didn't cross my radar.
Right.
And does he have to play like bishop G7
head over the head? Or king G7?
Oh, king G7 is better for sure. Then if you're.
But how depressing is that? White drops the rook back. Just a second ago, Sasha had seemingly a risk-free position. Now he's down a pawn and his position's in shambles. Now he's definitely calculating FE, but Robert, I find it very hard to believe that White's not just completely winning here. Maybe just take the pawn and knight G5.
And knight H7 checkmate.
takes knight G5. Well, I guess Black can go queen E7 and guard against that, but it's a moot point. We'll cross that bridge if we get there. He took it. No.
Okay. So now we might get there. Let's see.
Now we might get it.
Instead of queen E6, you can also play bishop H3, bring another attacker in, and that way knight G5, knight H7 will be checkmate.
Yeah, so for instance, bishop H3. Now, if you go rook E8 and say, I'm going to give up an exchange on E6, well, you're going to end up giving another rook on top of that. So I love the move bishop H3. And after queen E7 takes a knight G5, knight H7 actually is made, and I don't think there's a defense.
No, you can't stop it. I
think Sasha taking the rook, Robert, and again, I'm going to backseat drive here a little bit. That was a frustration move. That was a not necessarily tilt. That was just a frustrated Grischuk. Because I think in a classical game, or if the match score was different, and I think he's disconnected again, by the way.
No.
He would have gone king G7 and hunkered down defensively.
Yeah, also, sometimes you don't want to admit that you overlook something. So you're like, is this really a tactic that works out?
I saw that. Yeah, I calculated it. Totally calculated it.
Yeah. So Grischuk, I think he's busted at the moment.
Totally.
Ideas involving bishop H3 and so on. But Nihal, he'll need
look at the time that he's spending. Look at the fact that rather than blitzing out queen takes C6, the guy hunkers down, takes a minute. Another thing, he probably saw that Grischuk had a red bar, doesn't immediately make a move. And that's what I think chess maturity is really defined by. Doesn't matter how tempting a move is. He's going to sit there and work it out until he's absolutely sure that he's giving Black no chances. And the product, bishop H3, which I think is by far the most precise move. Kudos right there to Nihal. That was excellent.
And it was so tempting to just go queen E6, knight G5, but it's a lesson in bringing more pieces into the attack. Maybe the other line worked, but this is very clear. Your queen is one piece, bishop is a second, knight is a third. 3 pieces can really deliver a blistering checkmate.
Right. Rook C7, last ditch effort to cover as many squares as possible. Bishop takes C6, knight G5 even is possible. You don't even have to rush with taking the pawn. Who cares that we're down a rook?
Yeah, then I'll move his bishop, I guess. And the king will try to run to E7 and D6 and things like that, but there's no way this king is escaping, especially against Nihal.
I mean, I like knight G5. There it is.
Oh, because now you can't play king F8 because knight takes E6.
Knight D4 is kind of a funny move.
You probably could even take it.
You could even take E6 and watch this line. Takes, king H8. Whoop.
Well, you added moves. Instead of queen takes E6 check there, you could play queen H7 first.
Oh, nice. And then knight takes E6. Beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think I've seen a fork with a queen, 2 rooks, a bishop, and a king all at once.
Talk about family forks or royal forks. What do you even call that? A quintuple fork?
I mean,
I think Grischuk might resign here.
Yeah, that
watch him go knight D4.
Yeah, knight D4 doesn't stop anything. You can just play pawn takes D4. That's how bad Black's position is right here.
King G2. Now, just take the pawn.
Are you trying to put me to sleep here with your Yasser? Yeah, this one's over.
I remember when I played an aging Effen Geller, and he Or he had a long night out on the town in Hastings. Well, he
You-
fell
you-
asleep on the board.
This is the quietest I've ever heard you. This is like rook d6 played, and
Bishop e6, same idea. If rook e6, queen h7.
yeah, that's a problem. But bishop
Check.
e6, king f8.
Check, check.
Oh, this queen f8 mate. If you go
Oh,
queen g6. Oh no, no
Where
queen
is
g6.
go queen g6, but I thought queen g5. But
Rook
where is
e1.
it?
Rook e1.
Okay, rook e1. Let's watch it happen. Oh, Nihal
Oh,
taking e6.
He didn't
Doesn't
see-
matter though.
He can do the same thing, right?
Queen h3, yeah. For some reason, he fell into the same illusion that I did, which is that you have to like go through this particular sequence. And Grischuk resigns. Nihal